All right. Hey, my name is Iris Sullivan Daire, and I'm here with the ever lovely Ginger Edwards. And this is the Nurture Pod. This is a place where we come together and explore that interzone between what is and what is possible, and how we're finding our way through that no man's land. So that's what we do here.
Yay.
Ginger, how are you? You are in Peru and just
I'm
had a
still in
very
Peru. I
harrowing.
did. I had a really rough last week. I am still in Peru. I'm at the end of this month, it'll be 3 months being here. So
Oh,
isn't that crazy?
how?
I know. I know. But it's true. At the end of October, or just about the end of October, will be close to 3 months. Um, so yeah, I had a crazy experience. And for those of my friends who have text, capacity with me as I travel, have all heard, they all got the download. As I bought this trip into the Amazon basin, which I thought sounded really fun and cool because I've been in the mountains of Peru for a while and I wanted to go over the mountains into the Amazon because that is half the country. And everybody says it's very beautiful and majestic and full of animals. And I was like, that sounds great. So the night before I left, I was feeling fantastic. I actually had spent a week in Pisac, Peru, which is very spiritual and hippie. And there was like an ecstatic dance party on that Sunday morning. And I was like dancing. I mean, that's how good I felt. I was like danced for like 2 hours, felt great. Got on a little collectivo van, came back over to Cusco, which is only like 30 minutes from there, and was just feeling fabulous. I was getting ready. I got all packed up. I had found a place to store my bag, so I only had to take one bag with me. All these logistical things you have to do when you're going to do like a trip like this. And I paid, like $850 for this trip. So it was like the most expensive thing I've done since I've been here. And I figured, well, yeah, but this is like a professional guide and all the jungle lodges. And like, you just can't go into the Amazon without like the guided experience. You can't just go wandering around in there. So, yeah. So the night before, I have this friend who's in her 60s, Chinese American, cool woman. She hikes these massive, like incredible hikes that I would never even consider doing. And we met because we were staying in the same place and we hit it off. And so we had dinner that night. And I was all happy about that because I got to hear about her trek and everything was great. We had this really lovely Italian dinner at a place I've eaten at 3 times because it's like my favorite little, it feels like you're in Italy. It's like this little bistro. It's so cute at night, with all the candles and everything. And yeah, totally fine. Had a drink, for dinner because I was kind of like celebrating with her, um, and I think that right there was my fatal flaw.
Oh,
I'm leading up to something here. Obviously, that was the drink. I think I've identified was the one that took me down. For the drink had muddled strawberries in it. And I believe
oh,
that one of those strawberries was washed in something or not washed or something, and then put in that drink. And because we ate the same food and she didn't get sick and I did. So we shared food. So that was obviously not the food. It was whatever else I
the
was having, which was,
strawberry.
it was a cocktail with some muddled strawberries in it. And, so I went back to my little place. I was all packed. I was supposed to be up at 4 in the morning because everything in Peru leaves at 4 in the morning. I don't know why, but they have this thing about it. It's just every tour was like, get up at 4 in the morning. But I was prepared for that. This is a long one. It was a 6 day, very remote. So you're going in deep into the Amazon, like, and once you're in there, you're kind of in. Like it's not like there's access to anything until you come back out. So at like 3 in the morning, I wake up with a terrible stomach ache. And I was supposed to kind of get up anyway. So I got up and, I'm getting my things ready. And then all of a sudden I just like threw up. And I was like, whoa, like that. I was, you have that feeling of like, yeah, my stomach hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, you're traveling like this. It could be lots of things. So I didn't pay that much attention to it. And then I just puked and I was like, whoa, that was different because I'm not a very pukey I don't throw up very easily.
That's
It's not,
not your
not,
like
not, mm-mm.
everybody's got their thing. Some people
Yeah.
get the chest, some people get the puke at a
Yeah,
moment's
yeah.
notice.
But if I've been like drinking or something, like I would rarely throw. That would be unusual for me. So, and I only had one cocktail. So, yeah, and then I was like, "Oh," and then this horrible, like, feeling, like, starts to bubble through your body as you, like that whole, like, nausea, "Oh, I feel actually really sick, and I threw up again," and then diarrhea started, and I was like, "Oh, no, like, this is horrible, like, what?" Because I had slept up until that point, I didn't think, my body woke
Yeah.
me up with this. So that obviously was the time the bacteria needed to multiply. Um, and then, like, literally so I'm literally, like, now it's 3:30 and I've thrown up a couple times and the tour guide's gonna knock on the door in half an hour to pick me up and I'm like, should I go or should I? And this is like the fatal moment, right? Like, do I go or do I not go? Because I paid $850 for this. It's
Uh,
possible that this is just like a couple throw ups and
yeah.
I'll feel fine. And it's also possible that this is worse. And I didn't. So you have this like, and of course I'm bleary and it's 3 in the morning and you're kind of like, and so
Yeah.
I made the call to go, which was turns out a horrible, horrible mistake. so it,
Oh,
that was like the first kind of moment where I could go back to and be like, yeah, I should have laid back down, took the hit of the money, because you do not go into the Amazon not feeling good. Like it's just period. Like you had, good feeling in peak condition like I did before. That's when I should have like, dancing,
yes, yes, yes.
strong, healthy, but feeling throwing up because I got on this. So then but I did, and I will say it was the full moon in Aries that very day. I have an Aries moon. It's conjunct my Mars, and it is also like really aspected with the wounded healer Chiron right now. So that's also right in my chart. And my astrologer, who I talk to because she's a friend on a regular basis, she told me, she's like, don't push it. Like if you're, this is not your time these next couple months to like push yourself. Like take like retreat a little bit. Like treat yourself nicely. Like don't push because all of this astrology is would indicate that that's not going to be could go well for you if you push.
So,
And I
so
totally just did the
did
thing.
not take that advice.
Did not. I didn't even think of that. I thought of this later. Obviously, like at that point in 3 in the morning, I was not. All I was thinking about was, okay, you got to make a split decision here. Is it, are you going to be better in a day and have a cool trip and make that $850 work for you, or are you going to lay back down, take your, call it all off, just take the hit, whatever. I decided to go and got progressively sicker. So then you're on a very long bus ride over the mountains on twisty, windy,
Oh my God.
dipping roads that are going like through where open water is just running. I mean, now we're over the Andes into going into these rainforest roads, which are always landsliding and washing out. So it's rough. It's like really rough. Not to mention you're dropping elevation like 10,000 feet as you're dropping, so that your body is getting impacted in lots of ways. And I was put in like the van was very full of people. There was like four couples and me and a guide, and all the couples are in their 20s. They're all from different parts of the world, and healthy and hale, and having no problems. And I'm like the one person who every single time they stop the van, I throw up, and like I'm projectile vomiting, like just like
Oh my
puking,
God.
puking. And I'm kind of amazed, like everyone's just like, oh well, like no one's really that concerned, like this was another like clue. Like I probably should have just like caught a taxi back and like I'm
Why
like,
you
no,
still
because
could.
yeah, because the group and the guide were kind of like, you'll be fine, and they were just like and nobody would even I would be throwing up and nobody would say anything to me. No one would come over. It was just this really weird.
Whoa.
I was kind of on my own from the very get-go, and there was one younger guide who was nicer. He like would get out of the van and hand me a bottle of water, and a tissue, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Hey, like, checking in." And he was the guide for like the 3 day experience, right? And I signed up for the 6 day experience. So again, like we get to this finally, like we're talking 8 hours later of throwing up, including at one point because they keep stopping to do things, and I'm just sick as a dog at this point, like diarrhea too, horrible, like just straight through, like no nothing. Um, and now I'm getting worried about myself because it's just like not stopping. It's actually getting worse. And we get to this lodge, which is all the way in now. Like we've done like 8 hours of driving probably. And we stopped in this one little town for lunch, which of course I couldn't
Yeah.
obviously eat anything. Um, and I was so sick. Like Peru is very like full of festivals and parades, and like they love it. Like every little town has their own patron saints and things. I mean, it's just kind of constant, like fireworks and kids and costumes. I mean, they just really like to celebrate, and usually that's adorable and everything. And they park the van. They're like, we have to walk a couple blocks to this restaurant. I am like, at this point, pale, shaking, throwing up. So I get out of the van, and because I was in the back too, which is horrible. Like that, you're being like
Oh,
tossed around. It's like the worst spot. And these vans don't have windows; they're like sealed. They're kind of like these mini vans. So that's harder too, because you can't like the fresh air thing. The car
yes, yeah.
sickness. I mean, it was all of it, and it was very long. And now I'm kind of panicking because I'm like, this is gonna be bad. Like I've already like gotten too far in. Now I've been to the. But as I walk through this, like the town square, like literally they had like a band and all these people dressed up and like flower. It was just like this whole thing, and we were cutting right through the main square, and I just felt like I had to throw up. It just comes over you, like you can't stop. And I like ran
Oh,
right in the middle of this like adorable like little town party, like right in the middle of it. I'm like throwing up in like a planter in the town
oh
square in
my
front of
gosh.
everybody, and I'm not kind of throwing up either. I'm like throwing up. So I mean, it is just that was like a travel low of all time. Like I'm like I couldn't. I am like I'm not even gonna look around. I'm like it's so embarrassing. I'm so gross, and everybody just like I can feel them all staring at me, and and my guide's like gone. Like they just keep walking. They all just like keep walking. And, like I'm throwing up with this planter, and like yeah. So it just got to be and then and so that was like I get to this lodge, which is rustic, but I have my own bathroom and everything, and I spent a horrible night. And again, it's like, well, the guides were like, "You're probably going to be fine. Like this is probably the worst of it. It's usually a 24-hour bug. This is what they're telling me." And they're like,
Yeah.
"You should just keep going because you'll probably be better tomorrow." And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll be better tomorrow. So you're like, I don't know what to do. But again, there was a moment there where I could have probably
You
just
could have
stayed.
stayed at that town.
I could have stayed in that town, just skipped the whole Amazon part, just like stayed with a nicer younger guide and gone back in a couple of days. Like that was my and
Ah,
certainly that wouldn't have given me like the experience or the money or whatever, but it would have been like the nurture choice, I would say, like for my
yes,
body.
yes, yes.
And once again, I was like, no, I think I can do it. I think I could get on this boat. And then I get on a boat. And once you're on the boat, it's a 12, and I mean 12 hours up a river into the Amazon basin. Now, and like after you take that boat ride, there's no coming back. Like that's, then you're stuck in there until they decide they're going to finish the tour and come back to this lodge. So I didn't even realize like that lodge was the last place I could get like a banana or like you know what I mean? Like there was like
Oh,
certain things. And I guess I didn't I was so out of it at that point. I don't even think I didn't really understand what was going on. I certainly didn't understand the boat ride was 12 hours long. If someone would have told me that, I would have been like, no. But no one told me anything. The guides were just like, oh, they're just like, ah, you'll be fine. That was kind of the energy of the whole,
mm,
and not really acknowledging how sick I was. And also to my own maybe discredit or credit, I don't know. I do put on a brave. I try to be pretty brave. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a super whiny like collapsing person. I'm usually like, oh yeah, no, I can probably do it. Like I'm usually trying, and I certainly was like aware that I was trying not to ruin the experience for the couples because
mm-hmm.
everybody had paid money, and I was like wasn't trying to. So I had this whole tape about
It's
my
not okay
responsibility.
to be sick.
It's not okay to be sick, and it's not okay to make demands, and it's not okay to like even change the plan because you agreed to do this thing. It was weird. I mean, like in retrospect, I can see all of this kind of internal childhood tapes or something about like taking responsibility for my decision. Like, I don't even know. It was just really crazy. So, but yeah, what happened is I did get on the boat, which was a mistake. And the boat ride was rough. It was incredibly long. They don't stop. And these boats are open pontoons. These are not like boats with bathrooms or, comfortable seats or anything. It's just a jungle kind of cruiser boat that just gets you from point A to point B, and now the crew is all indigenous. They're working these boats just for tourists, and we're in a really remote part of the Amazon. I mean, a big part of why I thought this was going to be cool is because there's uncontacted tribes all throughout here. Like they've never made contact with civilization. So there's huge swaths of this part of the Amazon that you can't go into at all, or and so these are nomadic tribes, and they have these huge areas that they can be nomadic in. So the whole thing is really, really remote. Like it's not,
A
these
little
lodges,
remote.
yeah, and it's just a big park. Basically, it's called the Manu Reserve. And so we get in there. Yeah, and so long story short, I don't get better. Like I'm just continuing to like not be able to hold anything in my stomach. I stopped throwing up, but I was like not retaining, I couldn't even hold water really. It was just like it would just pour out of me. And then I started getting, you know,
Dehydrated.
dehydrated because it's hot, and actually it was kind of a cold front when we were there the first couple days in the boat, so it was pouring rain, like I mean jungle rain, like torrential, and these open-sided boats. So I actually got soaking wet on the way. The 12 hours I was like soaking wet, completely looped out of it because I had no food or anything in my system because I wasn't drinking water because I didn't want to have diarrhea on the boat. So I purposely kind of dehydrated myself to make the trip even. So I was basically passed out. I was like laying in an open boat with rain just hitting me. Like, I think I was like coming in and out of consciousness. Like I don't even think I understood what was. I was just kind of like, I had a
Oh my
fever.
God. Ginger,
Uh, I know, all of
dude.
it. It was crazy. So it was bad. And when we got finally way in to the next lodge, I was like, okay, like this needs to be better. Like I need to be better tomorrow, or I don't know, and it just kind of never, my body was just not, because when we got there, I was shivering because I was soaking wet, and they make you carry all your stuff up to this lodge, and it's just like a screened in hut, you know what I mean? It's just with a mosquito net, and like the bathrooms are across, like you have to walk to the bathroom, into this like little pit toilet. I mean, it's super rustic. And like I said, if I had been feeling healthy, this would be fun. Like, I wouldn't mind the whole camping kind of vibe and everything.
Yeah.
But sick, it is like, whoa. So, and
I got
yeah.
food poisoning on our trip to the Redwoods when we took that
Oh,
big 3 week van trip, and we had stopped and gotten a meal, and the boys ate something different. I can't even remember what I ate. It was in some restaurant in like Newport or something. And then that night at the state campground, this is like
mm.
April, I was like, oh no. So then, but the cool thing is that the bathrooms were like uber clean, and they had just redid all the that park we were in, and there was hardly anybody there because it was like April, and the floors were heated in the state
Oh, that's
campground bathrooms.
nice.
So like I would just like
Laying on the floor.
I was literally laying on the floor
Yeah.
like in the all night, and like I would kind of like I was like maybe I should go back to the van, and I was just like no, like I'm gonna throw up again.
No.
So anyway, that that I'm just thinking about like what made that possible. Like I still sometimes think about those heated floors and feel a sense of gratitude.
Exactly, right? Like, God. Yeah, so I'm
That
not
was
gonna
like
belabor this anymore, but like, any for like the people get the picture. I was stuck for days. I mean, it was a 6-day thing, so I was stuck for days and days, feeling terrible. Unfortunately, the guide and like the 20 something couples, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of love and nurturing going on. I mean, they were nice. They would be like, "Hey, how you feeling?" But that was it. Like there wasn't anybody who was checking on me. Like the guides was very dispassionate. He was kind of like, yeah, he acted annoyed by me and versus concern. And I actually and then I got my period, and then that was like
oh
the
God.
final straw of like, because I was so tired and exhausted, and then I started to bleed, and I was like, oh my god, like, and that's what actually drove me, I forget what day this was, to get in the guide's face because they weren't providing me with anything I could eat. Like they were just making all this food and putting it down in front of everybody, and everybody was just gobbling it down. And I would just sit there and be like, if I eat any of this, I'm gonna just be so sick. Like, so I need like plain rice. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
plain white rice and bananas. Like that's all. And they're, I mean, meal after meal, they just wouldn't do that. Like the guide was just not telling the chef, who doesn't speak any English, that that's what I needed. I could tell that was not being communicated, and I was like, I can't. And so finally, I was like really getting like weak, and then I started to bleed, and then I had to. really like at one point be like,
I will
this,
die. I mean,
I
like
will die.
literally,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is
I had to
you.
be, yeah, I had to call him out. I'm like, I need to talk to you outside. And he was like, well, I'm eating. And I'm like, well, I don't care. Like, I need to, like, I had to like kind of get in his face and be like, listen, bro, I haven't eaten in like 4 days. Like, I am losing blood. I'm like, I'm not, I was keeping water at that point. So I wasn't scared I was going to die, right? Like, cause I wasn't like super dehydrated, but I was starving and my blood sugar was like just, anyway, I
Nothing.
had to like get in his face and he was not okay with me getting in his face. And I wasn't like, I mean, I was crying. Like, I was so weak and shaky at this point. So it was a bad trip. It was a bad scene. And then after I got in his face, the next day, now we're in like the last 2 days, and so we're going back, and he did get a little nicer. He started talking to the chef, and I started getting like plain boiled potatoes, and because I was like, this is what I need, boom, boom, boom. But I've said this before, and it was just totally ignored. But this time I said it in a way it was like, uh, and I don't know if it's because when they turn back, they know that they're getting close to like tips and reviews. You know what I mean? They're thinking
Oh
a different
yeah.
way, or he just was all of a sudden like saw me for the first time and was like, "Oh, you're really upset."
You're not just being a whatever. He was thinking about you
Yeah,
in some way that he
yeah.
wasn't seeing you as human.
He was definitely dismissing me as like, yeah. Oh, I kept being, I think, dismissed as like, you're not that sick. Just eat some. He would just be like, just eat it. And I'm like, I can't eat this. It will run out of, like, I'm like, I can't eat this. It's too heavy. It's too, has oil all over it. And he was just like, just eat it. Like, so it was just a really hard. And then the 20 something couples were, again, like, they weren't mean or anything, but it kind of reminded me, like, when you're in your 20s, you're pretty self-absorbed. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you're in your own world, you're doing your own life, you're with your, girlfriend or whatever, you're doing a trip. And I was not like the focus. It wasn't like a mean thing. It was just not, you know. And so all of that combined, what a whammy. Like, for so many reasons. Like, I came back just being like, so sick, so tired, so depleted, but also just like that horrible feeling of just nobody caring. Like, there was one hike where I was trying to do things, and they would, because otherwise I'd just be laying in bed, and then he would be like, "You should come. Like, it'll be a really easy. We'll walk slow." I'm like, "Okay," and then it would never be. It would always turn into like 4 hour, thing. Because again, people would be like, "Oh, we want to go do this and want to go do that," and he'd be like, "Okay," and forgetting that he's dragging a sick woman with him, who he promised this was only going to be a 45-minute slow walk. You know what I mean? 4 hours later, I'm still walking in the jungle with these big rubber boots on, being like, and I can't leave because I don't know where I am. Like, I can't just bail
Oh
off
my
and go.
gosh.
Like, they
Yeah,
walk in,
right.
like, there's no trail. I mean, like, these trails look like maybe rain could have been there. Or you need to be guided. Like, you can't. And so at the end of one of those, I was coming back and I was I started crying because I was so weak. Like, and I had to keep up with them because I
You
didn't, I couldn't want to be stuck in this rainforest. I don't know where the hell I am. This rainforest is real deal. And I just remember seeing them kind of getting further away and being like, oh God, I have to walk faster. And I was like, and I just started crying because I was like so depleted. And I'm standing there crying in the jungle, and nobody, like, not one of them turned around and ever. They just walked, and they kept walking and walked into camp and went to lunch and like that. No one ever even like turned around to see where I was, because I could hear them talking, so I was trailing them, and I came in maybe 20 minutes behind them, and there was no one around. Like, nobody was stopped to see where I was or if I was okay. And like, they all knew I was
Oh,
super sick.
whoa.
So that's like giving you an indication of like the level of care that anybody on this tour was giving about me. And so then you really get this, like, I'm on my own, man. Like, this is me for me. Like, I got it. And so that's when it kind of kicked in. I'm like, started to make demands. Like, no, I am sitting in the front of the bus on the way back. Like, I'm not sitting in the back. Like, hell no. And I am doing this. But it was good. It was like good for me to step up and be like, I don't care. Like, nobody cares about me. So I'm going to start demanding things. Like, I need, like, they would bring me like these boiled potatoes. I'm like, yeah, okay, a boiled potato. I can eat that. But it was like a constant reminder. Like, they would bring me something, I'd be like, "No," and they would be like, "Oh, that's right, you're sick," and they would go back and, like, get me something. I'm like, "Yeah, wow, I can't believe it's been 5 days and nobody still has, like, clocked that I can't eat this." So, anyway, it was really
Wow.
rough, And I really, I also want to shout out to you and all my other friends who I think it was a very low point night. I think that night that I was really weak and I got in his face and he was a total jerk back and I still didn't get any food and I was like in my little cabin just crying and feeling very shaky and I'm not very good at asking for help either. I don't usually send out like I need help or support, but that night I did. I was like everybody I could think of. I was like, "Hey, like if you could light a candle for me, if you could send me energy, like I need it." And it was amazing. Like that night, I was so down and, like, I laid there and I could people were texting me back like, "We're doing it. We're sending you energy." And I was crying in appreciation and also just missing all my friends. But I started feeling better. Like, by the next morning, even that nothing had changed, I hadn't eaten or anything, I felt, like, remarkably better. It
Did
was
I ever I am I have no doubts that that works. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think I probably the when I, this, I always feel like anytime I bring up cancer, it's like though I'm obsessed with it. But the reality is, I went through treatments for a full
Yeah.
year, and I had about six friends who were regular meditators.
Mm,
And I asked them on Tuesdays, which was every like third or every two, I can't remember. On those Tuesdays when I had to go into Portland to get infusions,
mm,
if they would hold space for me in their morning meditation. And so they
yeah.
decided amongst themselves to do it at a certain time. And it would be like this whole long thing. So we stayed with my brother when I had to go in. We'd just go in the night before because it starts stupid early in the morning. And more than on two times, I woke up out of a sleep feeling my body, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this? Like this total feeling of well-being."
Mm,
And then I was like, "Oh, what time is it? What time is it?" And it was like, "Oh, it's 7 o'clock. They're
it's
doing their
meditation
thing.
time.
The
Yeah.
people the
Yeah.
the meditators are doing their thing right now." And it was so visceral.
It's
And it
visceral.
wasn't like I
I
was
can
like
say, yeah,
thinking about it, like I would think about it once I got to the thing, whatever. Like I was asleep. I wasn't
yeah,
I wasn't thinking about it.
yeah,
And it woke me up twice.
yeah,
And
yeah. It's remarkable. It's
it's
remarkable,
remarkable. And so
and
it's
so
like
that was a
I'm so
cool.
glad that you asked for help.
I am too, and it took a long time because I wasn't as I was trying to again be brave and be tough and suck it up and get through it, and kind of like this was your own fault. Tape in my head, like you made this bad choice. Never should have got blah blah. So I was a little beating myself up too, um, and and yet when I just surrendered and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I need help. Like I that was when did it, like for the first time. That's when I felt better. Like I felt like oh, and then I got every day after that I was a little stronger, like and then the guide the next day did bring me food that I could eat for the first time. And so that because other people were like, we're meditating on him too, that he's nicer to you and that he's aware that you're suffering. And so it was a turning point, and then we started heading back, which made me feel better because I just knew I was getting closer to civilization again. And once we finally got back to that first lodge, and I got because we had been out of anything I could eat for so long, it was like little scoops of white rice. I like saw bananas and I just like bought like a dozen bananas and just like ate like four. And I was like, oh, because my blood sugar was so low. And a banana is like the best. It was like the most insanely delicious thing. And a lady was selling coconuts, and I drank like coconut water, and I was like, oh my God. And then this other lady was selling watermelon, and I ate water. It was just like this whole like ecstasy of food I could eat that I couldn't
Oh,
that I didn't have any access to before. So and then I was like, and then my blood sugar rose up, and then I started feeling like way better. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I started actually feeling like myself again. And then my period started to, subside a little bit. Like the worst days were over, and so it all kind of. I got back to Cusco on a Saturday night. And again, horrible bus ride on the way back, but like we got back, and then by the next day, I was going to go to the clinic. Like, I'm like that. I'm immediately going to a doctor. I don't know what's wrong with me. I felt good enough that I was like, well, maybe I'll wait a day because I actually feel a lot better and I could eat. I started eating more food, and then today is what Tuesday, and I feel pretty
Tuesday.
good. yeah, I mean, I've been eating like I ate a huge chicken bowl of chicken soup today, and like it's fine. So the healing did happen, and but man, was that some dark initiation energy when I was out there by myself, just feeling so beat up and so alone and so like out of control. Like I had no control over the food I was being given. I had no control. You know what I mean? I had no control over when I had to get up in the morning. I had no control over my time frame. I had no control over whether we were going to be like hiking, even though my body couldn't do it. I'm like, it's like you just have to hike from point A to point B because that's where the boat is. Like all these things, I had no, and it was such a so hard, so hard. So as soon as I got back to like an Airbnb where I had control over like things, I was like, oh my god, it was such a good feeling. But I'm still unpacking it, and also, I mean, in my emotionally in my head, and I've come to Peru to work on the second chakra. That is the chakra of this area, this whole and damn if I didn't get like a second chakra purge. I mean, we're talking the entire lower intestines, my period, like everything was just like. And the
Well,
week
and
before, I had been in PSAC, which was, again, this is a very spiritual community. So there's a lot of talk about dieta and people doing these very intentional cleanses and purges to take these plant medicines like ayahuasca and San Pedro and stuff. So I had been listening to all these people talk about doing this very like intentional, not purging, but like cleansing, right?
yeah.
And and I was like, oh, I don't know, man. That sounds like I'm on vacation. Like I don't want to do that kind of. And I kind of was like, I remember thinking to myself, like, well, this is part of what what I kind of came here to do. But I was like, I don't want to do anything hardcore like that. It just sounds like
Oh
rough.
my God.
And I know, and that was the week before. And then I went in and I had like the most intense purge and like no eating, no water. I mean, I did like the most intense version of that you could do. And so I definitely it happened either way. And so right now I've actually signed up to go back to PZAC and do plant medicine because I am cleaned out. Like I did it. Like I did a whole week of purging and cleansing, and a lot of what was coming through my mind while I was sick, really, really sick, was some of the things that I had heard from, especially this one woman I did a sound healing with, and a lot of the things she was saying. So I came back and I started feeling better, and I was like, I messaged her, and I was like, your voice was in my head in the jungle, like when I was sick, and it was about, and because she's all about empowerment and working with
Oh,
rose essence with wachuma and ayahuasca, but like this, the rose is her kind of gateway plant, and it's all about feminine empowerment. And I had a really hard time standing up to this guide. Like a lot of my old tapes, nice girl, like trying to fit in, try to like get along and try not to be a problem, came in, and I was a little horrified that it took like me almost dying in order to make some demands for my own health and
on
safety. Like
your own well-being.
yeah, I mean, I had to get
It,
really low before I actually confronted him, and I should have been confronting him from the very beginning. So
I think okay, can I
yeah, I'm
so
talking.
here's the thing that seems like sorry, it seems like to me there is a certain black magic to being aggressive and non-caring. It
Mm,
is I I think because it's it can really because it immediately goes to the place of I just think I think it's like a whammy. I think it's like it's I think it's like black magic. For
mm,
real. Like to be really kind of like aggressive and curt and if you're getting like the strong, I don't accept you. I reject who you are and what you are, their whatever their story is of you because they know
mm-hmm.
nothing about you. Like it's like you're not that you're whatever. They know nothing about you. And
Yeah.
so no matter what, like to be unkind in that way, I just because well, okay, not at all. Like my world is just doing my normal mundane world right now. but there's a new principal at one of the schools, and I had to meet with them the first time last week, and she was a little curt, and I was just like, oh, whoa, and then like, I had like things that I kind of needed to ask, but I didn't ask them because it's like, oh,
Mm,
well, like they don't, and it's like whatever that is. I think that inside of us, it's it's easy to like if we had like a bunch of control switches inside, like,
mhm.
oh, someone doesn't like me, click. Like sometimes you can be like doesn't matter, I don't know you and I need this
Yeah,
thing from you,
yeah.
but like I think if the more run down you are, the more vulnerable you are to them just going along and just turning off your motherboard.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, it's also cultural, I think. I mean, I've talked to a couple people about it and they're like, you're also dealing with people who are Peruvian and like, he's from this region of the Amazon. Like to him, this is everyday like, this is nothing scary or crazy. Like to him, this is an everyday tour, like, routine stuff. And I think and they're like, they're kind of just not as touchy feely. Like it's just not part of the culture that they're from. They're a little tougher,
Yeah.
and I respect that, and I understood that, and also you're a paid tour guide, so it's you know what I mean. Like it's your job to listen to the people on your tour, and I would think to take the sickest one should have the one your eye is on the most, not the least. You know what I mean? Like because these are your little chickens. You got to get them back to port. Like just from a job standpoint, I'm like it's really bad policy to just leave me in the jungle and walk out and go to lunch without ever turning around. Like I just what? Who does that? Like that's just a
So,
bad guide. But also, I feel like you're right. If people are uncaring or just giving you the energy of like what like it was I started getting embarrassed like of my own self. Like I started shame came up. I was
yes.
ashamed that I was sick. I was ashamed that I was being a problem. I was ashamed that I had to have special needs around my food. Like all of this, that's my stuff, right? Like and I that's why I was really kind of like going through this deeper spiritual process in the middle of a deeper physical I brought up a lot of stuff I could see in myself. Like it wasn't just like, "Oh, I'm sick, therefore I need this, this, and this." It was like, "Oh, I'm sick," and this all these stories about I made a bad decision. I'm so dumb. Now, I all these people paid this money. Am I just ruining the trip for everybody? Like, I mean, bum, but like all that was in there too, and that was where I was like, when I came back out, like, "Whoa, what was that?" I mean, it really took me. It really took my period. Honestly, like it took that part of me just to become like more of a just more like, "Whoa, drop all that shit. This is survival, man. Like, you gotta demand what you need, period. Like, don't even it's you're not being mean or, needy or all the story. Like, just get in there
Or
and get
or
what you want."
or it's like needy. I feel like we need additional words
Yeah.
because like needy,
Yeah,
it's
even
as
even
though
that word,
having
right?
needs
Yeah,
is
having
too
needs.
much. And so like
Yeah.
and that's what so it's like what do we really mean by needy? What we really mean, the negative side of that is demanding and uncaring of the needs of others. So
Exactly.
if you
And as a
if that's
woman,
yes.
that's even painted harder on you. And definitely if you're dealing with a man who's giving you that kind of nonverbal feedback, like when I was crying and asking for help, he wasn't looking at me. He was like looking away and like basically like almost embarrassed for me kind of energy. And
Hmm.
and it was so humiliating, and I had to be like, what, I don't know how to yeah, and I even said to him like I don't know how to tell explain this any better that I need your help. Like, and then I'm scared and I'm alone. Like I'm here by myself in a foreign country. Like, how do I can break this down for you? Like all the ways that this is freaking me out that, and you are in control here. Like I don't have control over anything and I need your help. And he was just kind of like, we have the food we have. I was like, oh my God. Like at no point did he look at me and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you're sick. How can I help you? That's all he had to say. I was like, what do you need? Like, how can I make this better for you? What can we do? And that did not come out of his mouth. It was just like defensive. It was very defensive. Like, well, you know, you came on this trip and like we only have the food we have. It was like more like that and like
Well, and I feel like that I mean, I'm reading, I'm listening to these novels that I'm really enjoying that somebody suggests. I think last I've been reading them for a while, like I'm on book 4 or
yeah.
something. But the thing that it's really outrageously novel and wonderful to me about the book is that at this point, people that in the earlier books were like, oh, clearly the bad guy, right? Like they did this and this is causing this suffering or whatever. And like they're getting like a redemption arc
Mhm.
now. Not like they saw the light, but like somebody else had empathy for them and was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. And so then like got through the like and got through like the transformation is them facing the thing that they did. Like it's kind of like I've never read a book like it in which
Mm.
and it's like
What's the name of the
nurture
book?
culture drama. It's just awesome. I'm loving it. It's the Wild Grove theory or series, and it's
The
not
Wild
on
Grove.
Audible. I had to get it directly from the author.
Okay.
And you can the reader is good. I'm enjoying it. Like and there's they're not ridiculously expensive. It's like $10 a book. It's like totally
Mm,
you could buy a paperback for that. I mean, you could buy the paperback, but anyway, I'm enjoying listening to them. Yeah, I recommend. I don't know. Some people might not like it. I love it. I'm totally digging it. It's totally, like there's like magic, like the person is a death doula, so she's like going in and like in the kind of like in the dream world, dreamscape. There's like all this like there's the wood, like the world, and then there's like the other side of it where they're like
mm,
interacting with fairies and the dead and you know gods and like archetypal animals, and it's just
yeah.
so toothsome.
Nice. Nice.
But the human story, I mean, that's the thing, like even like sci fictions or whatever, like Ursula Le Guin is not, it doesn't matter that's on another planet, that's just a means of providing an opportunity to talk about the human condition, right? So
True.
it's like anyway, I but why did I bring it up? The reason I brought it up is that uh, I think that there's a certain there's all these different ways that people are human together, right?
Mm,
And it just feels like when we other each other,
mm.
like it seems like what from your story, like you were totally in the other box. You weren't you
Yeah.
weren't in
Or
the
mm,
and for
yeah.
whatever reason, but and it's like, but what if that it everything makes sense? Like it makes sense that that person felt that way from their life experience. And
Right.
it's like, how do we break through? Because it always makes sense, but how do we break through that to be
Mhm.
fully human to each other? That's the real answer. The answer is not how do we prevent other people from thinking in ways that are different than is convenient or
Right.
in alignment with ourselves or whatever. Like but it's like, but how when face to face with another human,
Mm-hmm.
how do we get
Well, I mean, I think that anything you go through builds empathy and compassion in you if you had to go through it, right? So, one of the things I immediately kind of recognized in myself is that if I was on a tour and somebody was sick, like somebody was struggling and they were by themselves, I would have definitely been the person in the tour group paying attention to them and helping them. Like that would have been a role that I would have taken on very naturally. Um, and I'm really happy I'm that person because I didn't have that person in this group. And like, man, I needed one. I needed somebody who was gonna take me on as their little nurture project, be like, make sure that I was good and make sure that, they were checking in with me every day and listening to, whatever I needed to say and just be a support person. And it was funny because one of the girls got a tick on them at some point in the tour, and I heard, and like that was it was scaring her because she's the ticks are gross and we don't know, like they carry diseases and stuff. And I and the her partner, because these other people have they people with them, was like, hey, we need to get this offer. And I heard the guide kind of dismiss it, like, oh, it's no big deal, like they don't have diseases here, like we don't have Lyme disease in this jungle, like don't even worry. And he just kept walking. And for me it was like, oh, there's another example of how he just dismissed it. Like it wasn't just me. Like, and the girl was kind of standing there like, oh my God. And so I, dug around in my bag and found my tweezers in my bathroom, and I pulled them out. I'm like, let's get that off of you right now. And it made me like that person to be like, no, I'm gonna deal with this right now for her, because I have empathy for just even her being a little freaked out about her health. Because I've been like in this dark place for like 4 days, trying to figure myself out. So I just realized that I saw, yeah, I wasn't the only person. That's why I'm like, I kind of knew it was kind of cultural too. It was just like, yeah, you guys, and you're whining, kind of like it's just not that big of a
Yeah.
deal, whatever. Like, just keep going, and also that I could help her, and she was really appreciative, and in that moment. And I think it's just again we remind like these little nurture places we can fill in for people, like to be the one who stops and checks in, and these are important,
Super important.
it's something we can do in our everyday lives. Like we can actually the weak one of the group, even if they're, not the funnest one, like that should be the nurture priority of like, we can't just abandon the weak member. Like we have to lean
Yeah.
in a little bit on that. And then also for a lot of lessons just for me about, like asking for what I need and making better, yeah, and listening to my body in a real way, like, staying with the guide who was already showing me compassion, like not there's like there was all these ways where I kind of ghosted
You could
myself,
have been
kind of like I
advocating for
gaslighted
yourself.
myself. Yeah, I was like, oh no, I mean he's being a jerk now, but I'm sure that'll get better if I get on this boat.
Isn't that it's so it's
No, that was never going to be better. Like he was showing me right then, in that bus
yes.
ride, who he was, and I kind of ignored it. I pushed past it,
But
and these are my
that's what
own.
I mean about it being like a spell. Not that they're like sorcerers,
Oh no,
but
no.
that the impact it has on us is very like it's like kryptonite. Because I think that when like I mean, why is it that like in any sort of group, if somebody is like really kind of is toxic in some way, or
Hmm.
just they get their way more, like it makes our like our my I mean, I'm just America right now, kind of
Yeah,
crazy, very
beyond
crazy,
crazy.
super
Yeah.
crazy, and it's like,
Hmm.
how is it that like I'm just like thinking about like what if we were 100 people, 120 people on the like the whole planet. Like let's say there's just 120 people and one person was as mean
Hmm.
and cruel and crazy. Like when you look through human history, there were cultures that when somebody arrived in a place of profound crazy, which I think if you're really cruel, that is kind of crazy.
Hmm. I agree.
There are cultures in which that person becomes the leader, and there are cultures in which that person is like kind of like held in some sort of way to prevent them from hurting themselves and others.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a I mean, that's when we talk about nurture culture. We don't have the mechanisms built into capitalism in America to stop the crazy
Just
people from to take grabbing more and more money and power and more control, right? Like that's built into the system we actually live in. That would be it. Like being crazy and aggressive actually gets you places. Like that'll
yes,
get you more in the culture we're in. However, that's not all cultures. I mean, like you said, there are many cultures where if you are exhibiting that kind of behavior, you would be, yeah, treated
neutralized in
as
some way,
well.
not
You would
like
be treated as somebody who was ill, who didn't understand, who had lost their way, who needs more dance, drum, medicine, like shamanic healing. Like, and I'm in Peru, like I'm right on those cultures, which is very interesting. There's layers here. Like there are so many indigenous speaking tribes here, and there's a very alive Quechua tradition that was, pre colonial Spaniards that are still here, and it's really fascinating to me, and, like, that would be more embedded into so the colonialism on top of the indigenous cultures here is very clear, like, and there's both, and they live kinda side by side, and they also live people have parts of them, they take it here, take a little bit of this and take a little bit of that. And so unlike America, Peru has a much more diverse, I think, expression of how they would how different groups and villages. There are still villages here. There are villages here who have 100 people in them and
Can,
have lived here for thousands of years. I mean, that still exists here. So it is fascinating to me that there's yeah, and they have different cultural values. They don't value power. They don't value money. What they value is community, and they value working together. And there's so many tours and places I've been. An example where it's pretty cool. Like there's shared like hillsides, mountains. You know what I mean? Like they're all responsible for it. They're all raising llamas. You know, and they all kind of have to keep it in balance. They have to keep it healthy. They know and they've done this for centuries. They share wealth. They share work. They share resources, and it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful thing. So I guess what I'm saying is it's so interesting to me to come from a culture where I am embedded with a certain like rules and my
yes, yes,
how
yes.
I should behave, and then I'm in other places. That's why I'm not making like this huge I'm gonna call up his superior and make a bit. I understand there's a cultural layers going on, between
Yes,
he
yes,
and I.
yes.
Like I understand that's not a straight across understanding of how I think he should be and how he was being. Like I know there was a cultural like and then the dispassionate, the thing that all the projection in my head I was putting on like you're such a jerk, you don't care. That may not be true. It might just be he just deals with it differently. So
And also
I
like he he may not have known how to read you,
No, I don't think he
or
did at all.
and
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. Like, yes, I had to stand up and like I had to ask for what I need, blah blah blah. But maybe that would have been better all along. Maybe it was my cultural tape of trying to like ingratiate myself and fawn. Really, I mean, it was a fawn response when you're sick and you're dependent on somebody. Just like just be nice, don't make waves. Just try to like not die and get kicked out of the group or something. I mean, that's what it was like a survival fawning kind of what kicked in. And then when I realized that wasn't working at some level, my body kicked back the other way. It was like, no, 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 we're demanding now. Like we're gonna, I need this, I need this, I need this. And I don't know. So it's like I said, it's complicated. It's like an interesting unpacking of my own stuff, my own culture, and being female, and like there's a whole gender dynamic. He was older than me too, so many layers to this experience, and it did feel like kind of an initiation, like of some of this second chakra energy, because that's what the second chakra is all about, right? It's about relationship, it's about the nurturing part, it's about how we deal, yeah, with people and kindness, and it's about the adolescent part of ourselves, which was really triggered because again, not fitting in, everybody in a group having fun, drinking, laughing, and I'm like in a corner feeling miserable. I mean, there's nothing that triggers like the teenager like
Yeah, yeah,
rejection
yeah.
worse than that. And yeah, I mean, it was just such a package of lessons, spiritual lessons. So I mean, I'm taking the spiritual pilgrimage. I've got to take all of these things as like, yes, it was food poisoning, and look
And
at the
yeah,
package that came with it.
like all the you're literally
The universe
clearing
gives you
your
yeah,
whole everything. Like
yeah.
yeah.
Everything was up for examination and still is. And so I am actually now preparing to go back into PZAC for a week, and I'm going to work with this woman one on one with plant medicines and with
The
sound
same woman
healing
you saw
and all.
before?
Yeah. And
Oh,
I'm really
wonderful.
grateful that I came back and I messaged her and she was like, let's do this. Like, let's figure out what this initiation was about. Like, let's really go into it and work with it. And not have you leave Peru without, doing this kind of deeper level. So I'm excited, and I
Oh,
think it'll also might be kind of intense, but I will be in very good hands. And yeah, so I'm and also I should say the astrology again, because I'm an astrology girl. Like Pluto just went direct, and it's at 1 degree of Aquarius, which is on my ascendant. So I have a lot of like big energy, like
Wow,
working, like
wow, wow.
who I am in this world is being scoured again. And Pluto's been back and forth over my ascendant for like 3 years, as because it moves so slowly. But this is one of its final like turnarounds, and so I'm getting like the final push of Pluto. Next week is the new moon, and we go into Scorpio. So it's like this whole like it's a
Triple
really
whammy, man.
very intense, and we're all everything's in water signs right now, everything. And this was like again the river, the rain, the soakingness, the throwing up. I mean, water energy. It's just like
Well, I
all,
I feel
and,
like
and
I've
and not being able to retain water and being
yes.
panicked about dehydration. Like, and so when I was actually able to like get water, I mean, the water was such a theme of this
I mean,
initiation.
when you said that you were when I got, like the text that you were ill, I have to say that I was just thinking about like birth, like giving birth. Like this
Mm,
was such a because like I was thinking about like when have I felt closest to death in my
mhm,
life? And when my labor with my first child, because it was a very difficult birth, and I was
uh,
also like throwing up a lot, and it was took him 36 hours to give birth, and I
mm,
couldn't keep water down for that whole 36 hours. And she's like, you either have this baby or we have to go to the hospital. And I was like, ugh. But it's
yeah,
like you're totally in this, you're having this like no control over your life. Like it's a huge initiation to give birth,
yeah,
especially at
yes,
home. And no shade on anyone's, however people, choose to give birth,
yeah,
the but for me that experience was like I was like that's I like at one point I think I was probably like I was like, oh, death is in the room. Like I was like, oh shit, I could die. Like
and
and
women
I
do,
could I
women have and
people
done.
do, and like probably have in other lives, and like but it was like
Mm-hmm.
very like whoa, like really experiencing and feeling that. And
Mm.
I totally had the flash of like, oh shit, that's like I'm so happy. I mean, I just felt like for you, like you legit absolutely could have died. I feel
Yeah, I
like
think if it had been worse, yeah. I mean, it it definitely hit some edges where I was very worried. I remember looking in the mirror at myself and just being like so pale and sweaty and shaky and being like, "Girl, you can't die out here." You know what I mean? Like just like out
yes.
loud to myself, "This isn't how we go out." You know what I mean? And
So
maybe
I just
a
I
little
it,
bit.
it does feel like really important and beautiful to have this opportunity to spend a week with a healer
Yeah,
after that really intense experience, because it's like
yeah,
how many how much of your entire lineage was being barfed out?
yeah. I don't
I mean,
know.
it's
Yeah,
it's 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 I feel like it's big, always bigger than us, right?
yeah.
It's
It
like,
is when you're kind of making the intention, when you're setting these big intentions to do this big work in these places and these big powerful places. Yeah, and I do think it so I'm really interested. This next week I will be incommunicado for like 7 days, but I'm going to be very nurtured because again I have like this one-on-one healer experience, and she's super beautiful energy. She's a Cancer, and she's just like really nurturing, which is why I chose her, because she works with roses and her name is Avalon Rose, and she's just really beautiful. And I'm like, I if I'm going to be with a healer for a week doing this kind of deeper dive, I do want someone who's just she's going to cook for me. Like it's going to be
I
very
will
nurturing
you be staying with her or nearby?
nearby her, yeah. So in my own cabin, but nearby, so she can be like pretty present um, every day.
Oh, how
Yeah. So
I'm so yeah, I'm really
yeah, so it'll
what a
be really
good
interesting. And then the ceremony for ayahuasca is going to happen with women. She does a monthly women's circle, and so it's the new moon, and so that's kind. She's like, "You're this is timed perfectly, so you can sit with this group of women." And she's like, "And we'll hold you, we'll sit right next to you," and like, and it all just felt like okay, like this is the container I need to do this magic. And if you're going to be initiated, it's not something you do by yourself. Like you know what I mean? Like
correct. Yes, yes, yes.
it's something that other people hold. And so I've also been traveling by myself and just kind of making this whole thing up as I went along, kind of. I've really been doing this by like me, and it feels good to kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna give over to a person who's going to guide me. And actually, this is a different kind of guide. I had a really bad guide experience, and so now I'm like, this is a different guide, and it's a spiritual guide, and it's now I'm going with intention to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. So I feel like I had the unintentional version that's led me now to do the intentional, which is I think that's a good way to come at it. Like, okay, the lesson came, and now I'm willing to step further in and unpack the lesson and really incorporate what was trying to be shown. Because I do think the universe was giving me something. Like, this experience
Oh,
was
yeah.
rough, but it was opening doors for me if I was willing to look at them, and I'm willing to look, now. So that's my crazy story for this week.
It's
And I'm really grateful that I'm on the other side of it. And yeah, and this next journey going forward, this kind of week-long journey, will be interesting because I haven't done anything that kind of focused and intense in a long time either, not with a guide, like one-on-one, you know, working through different blocks and things that come up. So I'll report back after that too, and we'll see what happens.
awesome.
But this is my end of Peru. This is by the end of October, I will be moving on. So this is also like, Peru has been intense, and I knew it would be. And I think I will continue to work with this chakra, but maybe in a gentler way in Guatemala and other places that aren't like the epicenter of this energy. But I think going out with like a really nice week-long ritual feels good, like really honoring
Oh,
the,
yeah, and
the
also
medicine that's
like
been offered.
to come to like cinch up the bag of the experience, like the pull the
Yeah,
drawstring and bring it all together in like a
yeah.
sense of closure and
And understanding too, like,
yes,
so I don't just
yes.
like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna go, that sucked, get on a plane and fly out." No, no, it feels good to spend another week here, and just really sink into, like, integrating it. Plus with the plant medicines that are from here, these are the plants that work with this energy of this place,
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, it'll be really fascinating.
All
So
right.
nurture pod, that's the ginger report from Peru. And and it's been a really, and I know there's crazy stuff going on everywhere right now, so I guess.
I feel like we need to I don't know how aware you are, but just a shout out to Portland's
Oh,
response to
yeah, so
like
beautiful.
the people in the
I'm
inflatable
very aware of it, I'm
animals.
watching it, and, it
It's
makes me
it's
wanna be there. I was like, it looks talk about, nurture culture response to something that's very dark, like, they're
hmm
really trying to provoke violence, and they're being very violent. But to bring humor and silliness and creativity into the mix, it just what the magic of that, like, to watch the magic of
hmm
it diffusing, because it just doesn't work. It's like oil and water, you know what I mean? Like, silliness and, um I mean, God, I saw the guy dressed up at Bob Ross, and he's, like, across the street from the ice building, like, painting it, like, giving this whole Bob Ross narration. I'm just like, and
Oh,
so people's creativity is really coming forward, and it's really awesome. I mean, I'm so
yeah,
proud to be an Oregonian right now. I think Oregon's giving it, like, the very best magic back.
yeah, I
Um,
totally.
yeah,
And
so huge props.
yeah, I just want to do a shout out two things. One, when I just feel like I don't want to when I this idea of having negative intentions towards somebody being a form of black magic. I just want to clarify what I mean by that because I've been looking at myself with that and when I'm
Mm,
having negative thoughts towards other people and trying to kind of own the fact that I think that there's harm in that and that
oh, yeah.
for sure. And like, not that I'm like, I'm not like lighting black candles against anyone or anything like that, but just like
Oh,
being
yeah.
aware of my own thoughts. And then also just really realizing, especially if you've had trauma, when you interact with somebody who locks into your stories,
Yes.
it it kind of like it knocks you. That's what I mean by like the impact
Yes.
is can be huge. And depending, like there's all these different ways that that can play out. So like I'm not, and some of which is like the Tower of Babel effect of being with somebody from a very different culture where
Mhm.
you're not able to read each other in the same way as if you were in a tight-knit group. And then but it also happens in tight-knit groups, and like somebody can be, it's very subtle to like kind of move somebody out,
Mhm.
like there's all these different, anyway, it's just, anyway, so that's,
I
I'm
mean, I
really
hear
thinking
that,
about
and
this.
I mean, like, just as the power of me calling out for help and all that love flooding in, and me actually physically healing my body, like feeling remarkably better from it, from people who are thousands and thousands of miles away, like sending me intention. I mean, my beautiful little 87-year-old mother. I was talking, texting my older sister who was telling my mother, of course, who was worried about me, and she actually called her Reiki healer and had her Reiki healer like go to her altar and send me energy. Like that was the only thing she could think to do to help me. But I was like, I think that shit works. And if that's true, it makes
Then the opposite
absolute
is
sense
true.
that the opposite is true, right? So if we are
Yes.
holding negative intention, that is also very powerful. And so it is our job as individuals when we feel helpless in the world of craziness. We can do one thing. We can keep our own love like
Yes. Yes,
light,
exactly.
and we could be sending love, even if it's like, to even if it's thousands of miles away, you can send love, you can send support.
Yes.
It really, I do think it makes a difference, and I do think, if people are protesting, send them love, send them strength, send them, and send everybody in that situation, and try to be really intentional with your magic, because you're right, it's magic, it's energy. It's
Yes.
all magic is focused intention. And I I'm very aware that in this trip I can lose my intention about what I'm doing, and I'm just traveling, and I start getting really spun out. I get really like, what am I doing? Like I'm just a tourist. Like I don't even know. Like why am I here by myself? It's been months. Like I should figure this out by now. I mean, this whole story comes up in the cultural of like, what are you doing with your life? Why you just like all the things. And all I have to do is get grounded again and sit in the intention of like, no, no, no. Like I chose to do this. I'm in Peru. Like how cool is that? One. And two, I get to choose how I show up today, like for myself and for everybody else I bump into. Like you can be a positive force in the world.
And that's
And,
that's
and
the that's
by
the
being in
power.
by being of love, like by being in love,
Yes. And so
from
like
love, and that has to
the
start with you. You have to love yourself.
and
And
you
and
have, I think that the way to, it's like how do you tether yourself to that which helps you stand
yeah,
in alignment. And it's like
and
that's the practice, because it's like
that's the practice.
if you have, even if you like, I mean, I'm like the worst. It's like a dotted line. Like I'm in practice and then I'm like out and then I'm in, and it's like I'm coming back into practice right now after like, 3 weeks of like not doing any of my stuff. And like this morning I was like singing one of my songs, and it was just like I could just feel my whole body because I've sang that song so
Mm,
much as part of my practice, that it was like, oh, it's just like jump. It changes everything. It changes my whole
yeah,
day if I do that in the morning.
yeah.
And it's like, why, how do I forget this? And it's like, well, I
We
got knocked
were
out of it for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
and
And
we're
so it's
not
like,
taught. We're not taught. We're not in cultures that encourage singing, dancing, shaking. You know what I mean? I saw this little meme that ran across my phone, and there was these two guys, and they're like, humans are meant to move. Like if you're upset or had a stressful day, like you need to shake that off. You need to dance. You need to jump around. You need to scream. You need to beat a drum. You know what I mean? This is like embedded in our ancestral like roots of how we deal with energy. And I think part of what happens is we just take in all of this negative stuff like from the media and the world, and we don't have any outlets for like shaking that stuff off and getting regrounded into our power,
and so it's,
into our
yeah, so it's
love.
yes, exactly. And so
It's
then
just
it's
it's
like
you
we
know
it are like how do you become more resilient?
yeah,
It's practice, 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 whatever that
it's
is for you.
practice.
There's infinite ways for whatever that looks like for everybody.
That's
And
right.
it's
And like
like,
that's what that's protest is showing us. There's infinite ways to respond. There's infinite ways to respond. We don't have to just respond in the way that our trauma would indicate, that what they're
What
expecting.
once you feel
They
like there's only
push, you push
one
back,
one one
you know?
way one response, you know that
Yeah.
you're in a very small dream.
Yeah, and that's why what's happening in Portland is a very beautiful thing because they've kicked the box out and they're like, we're just going to respond in all kinds of ways that aren't predictable. Like we're going to do all kinds of weird shit, and it's inspiring and delighting. Everyone's like, oh, like we have choices. We can be our authentic selves in these moments. We can actually root into who we are and respond. There's no right, like there's no rule here. The nurture culture isn't like, oh, you need to respond, you need to be nice, or you have to be this or that. No, it's like you have to just know your own heart and be connected to it, and if you can't handle it, take a break, step back and like nurture yourself first so we can like keep this vibration clean of like, we're here
Yes,
for
yes,
we're here
yes.
for healing and love. And I'm telling you, traveling solo, I'm getting the crap kicked out of me in lots of different emotional and energetic ways. And so I notice I get spun when I just lose the intention. I'm like, I don't have any intention anymore. I'm just waking up and what am I going to do today? Oh, I guess I'll do this or that. And I'm like, God, I'm kind of just feel like I'm walking in circles. And then I start getting stressed about my life and blah, the story goes on. But if I can just take 5 minutes and catch myself when I'm doing that and be like, no, 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 the intent, you're on a spiritual pilgrimage. Like you're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to know right now what you're doing. You're supposed to be practicing trust in a very liminal space, and you're going to be challenged in that regard. Like that's what's happening. And so if anything is going on, like coming up, like that's part of what you're here to do. That's the only thing you're here to do. You're here to do this work for yourself, and by extension, become a better human and like understand how to be in the world in a more authentic way. Because I know that I was in a routine at home, like it was so comfortable, so beautiful, but as rough as this medicine feels at times, this is making me it's growing me into these awarenesses, into these spaces. Um,
Oh, I
yeah.
can't wait to see what you on the other side of your next week. I have one last thing,
Okay.
which is not a real life thing, but a thing that I saw like a little news clip of some uh vultures in Europe, in Spain, and this biologist or ornithologist, whoever, they realized that these vultures keep having nests in the same spot. Long story short, they realized they were like time capsules, and they found
Uh,
this like handmade like shoe from like early Middle Ages, like in almost perfect
wow.
condition. And they realized it's like, and there was
Wow.
something else anyway, like they're like, oh my God, like we're like, and like other little things that they had collected and put in, made into their nests. Like it was
Amazing.
like, they're like, who knew? But the vultures, which are the condors of Europe, the vultures have been keeping track of everything. So. It looks like I lost Ginger. So, but I'm guessing it's still being recorded. So that seems like a good little, she must have lost power. So there we are. That's the, that's the nurture pod for this day. This, this day in October. I don't even know what the date is, my friends. Yeah. I think I can make it stop now. So just got a text from Ginger. She as well just lost Wi-Fi. So thanks for listening to the Nurture Pod. I hope that all of you are well wherever you are listening from. Thanks for listening to these crazy conversations. And yeah, just I hope that you are as well as can be and that you're having great relationships with the people in your life. Thanks a lot for listening. See you in a See you in a bit. Bye bye.